Welcome to Rice TVX and the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me loud and clear. If you're watching this on replay, fast forward to about the 4-minute, 20-second mark. I'm going to give everybody time to join us today. Speaking of time, how much time do we have before the full launch of central bank digital currencies? Got a lot to talk about on today's episode and much more, so stay tuned. About to get this thing started.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Thank you for tuning in for today's live stream. I greatly appreciate you joining me on the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. Got a lot to cover on today's episode. Everything will be linked down below as usual. Before we get started, a real quick channel promo. Encourage you, and always, if you have not already, take time to smash that like button. It does help other people to find my videos in a YouTube algorithm flow, or at least that's what they say. Before we get into it, take time to visit my website at ricetvx.com. There you can sign up for my mailing list so you can stay up to date on all things Rice. Once you've signed up for my mailing list, you will find links for my channels and socials towards the top of the website. Make sure you are subscribed to both of my YouTube channels, Rice Against the Grain and Rice TVX. If you want to support my work directly, as well as get early access, exclusive content for both channels, plus more, join my Patreon. And as always, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX who make it possible for me to do this full time. You can always find information in every video description for Monarch Wallet and Presearch, the decentralized search engine. And if you want to support Rice TVX and protect your assets at the same damn time, I also wanted to share that I have recently partnered up with ITM Trading. So if you want to schedule a gold and silver strategy call to build your wealth shield and support Rice TVX, be sure to use my specific landing page that you see on the screen, and I will also include custom Calendly links and an 800 number that you can utilize to schedule your strategy call with the ITM trading professionals. And again, it is a way to support Rice TVX. Look at that. We're at 4 minutes. I said you can fast forward to about the 4-minute, 20-second mark, and we're going to get things started. Now, the first thing that I want to share is some interviews and some videos that I have put out this week that maybe you might have missed because the view counts are down. YouTube is definitely looking like they're shadow banning, suppressing the view counts because I've been putting out some great videos, but the view counts are down. So the most recent video that I put out was regarding Gary Gensler talking about the clown show that's going on, a circus act with Gary Gensler, not this thumbnail, but this thumbnail. Make sure you're checking out this video. And this past Monday, I did have Mr. Tone Vays, the crypto minimalist, on the program. That was an awesome interview. It was a live interview with Tone Vays this past Monday. So in case you missed either one of this episode or this episode, be sure to check them out. And I will also be going live tomorrow on my sister channel, my other channel, Rice Against the Grain. So if you like the stranger than fiction content, if you're into the conspiracies, the legal fiction, the hidden and alternative history, spirituality, and everything that I cover on what was known as Stranger Than Fiction. You can find that on my new channel, Rice Against the Grain, link down below in the video description. And I'm going live tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're into the legal fiction, this is a video that you do not want to miss. I will be discussing everybody that I've interviewed over the past few years, whether or not I endorse them still, who I do not endorse and why. I will be covering some people that I have not interviewed, whether or not I endorse them or why. I'm going to be doing a little bit of an expose on David Straight. Going to be sharing some information about Russell J. Gould. These are two people in particular that I have a lot of dislike and disdain for. So you want to know everything going on in my head from my research these past 2 years with the legal fiction. What you need to do is tune in over at Rice Against the Grain tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Time to run the BTC because we have these central bank digital currencies launching. Before we get started, I also want to let everybody know that I have a new partnership that's going on with Money Metals Exchange. Trying to find the information over here. Here we go. So what's going on is I have a new link, moneymetals.com/rice. Make sure you head to that link. The promo codes do not work anymore and no longer offering a free ½ ounce of silver. But what they are doing is every month, a monthly drawing for 3 different winners to win 10 ounces of silver each. That is 30 total ounces of silver split up amongst 3 people, 10 ounces of silver each. In order to enter to win and support Rice TVX at the same damn time, go to moneymetals.com/rice and make a purchase between the first and last day of the month. You will be automatically entered to win 10 ounces of silver via Money Metals Exchange. And again, everything that we talk about as usual will be linked down below in the video description. I'm going to go ahead real quick, highlight the chat. Then we're going to get into today's video. All right, so let me get everything on screen all proper like. Thank you again for taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. Trying something a little different. I'm standing up. Normally I'm sitting down. So I kind of like this. I like being able to move around, kind of get my blood flowing. So I am standing up doing this video, trying something new. Sean from New World Crypto, thank you for tuning in. Definitely make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Miss V, less than you realize. I realize because I realize what real lies are saying because I have real eyes. Hit me up, Miss V. I would like to talk to you, even if it's on the private. We also have the Broke Honda guy. I love your username. Appreciate it. I'm definitely trying to keep people educated when it comes to what's happening with the central bank digital currencies, because this is probably one of the most important issues that we can be facing, that we are facing at this very moment, including digital ID, which in combination with things like social credit, carbon credit, would be your digital prison. Good seeing you in the house, Ronnie. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so we got 22 people in the house. Make sure you guys are taking time to smash that like button if you have not already. So the first thing that we're going to be sharing on screen is this website from atlanticcouncil.org. First, I'm going to cover the international stuff, and then I'm going to come back to the chat and see what everybody has to say. And then we're going to get into the stateside United States aspect of what's happening on a national level with these central bank digital currencies. But this website, atlanticcouncil.org, is a good place for you to see what's happening with different developments of central bank digital currencies around the world. So as you can see, we have 11 launched. Those are the pinks. We have 18 in pilot, 32 in development, 39 in research, 15 that are inactive, and 2 of which that have canceled. And the 2 that have canceled are Senegal and Ecuador. You can hit the map yourself. Again, this is linked down below. This is from CBDCtracker.org. This is a list of the different central bank digital currencies that are currently in existence, whether or not they've been canceled or proof of concept research or what's going on with them. But these are names. So the UK has a digital pound. Sweden has the e-krona, the digital real for Brazil, the crypto real for Iran, the digital rupiah for Indonesia, the retail digital euro for Euro area, the e-kroner for Denmark, the EAUD for Australia, the ECNY for China, and the United Arab Emirates CBDC. So this is just a little bit more information. If you guys want to find out all of the research that I've been doing, all the videos that I've been doing in this area of central bank digital currencies and the area of privacy, about a beginner's guide to cryptocurrency wallets, and so much more, check out my must-watch crypto playlist. Now, the first thing I want to share, this is a tweet that comes from Watcher Guru, and it reads, and it's from April 6, 2023. So about 3 weeks ago, roughly 2.5 weeks ago. Justin, European Central Bank president, reveals plans to launch a digital euro, a CBDC, says there will be control over payments. Now, I had to make sure that this was a legitimate conversation that took place, but apparently she thought she was talking to Zelensky from Ukraine, and she in fact was not. It was a deep fake apparently, but what she's saying, her part of this conversation is completely legitimate. It's been found to be it's been verified to be correct, and it's been verified to be true. So I made a clip so I didn't have to do the audio share. And here's the clip. This is a little over 3 minutes long, but it's definitely worth you guys checking out. So here we go.
Well, I have a question about I'm also good. Well, I have a question about I'm also good user of electronic money. So my question, you're introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
how can switching to an electronic currency help?
Well, two things. Number one, it will be decided in October. So we are preparing the ground. We want to be ready. We want to be trained, but it will not be decided until October 23.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm personally convinced that we have to move ahead is a situation like the one we are in now. We are
Mm-hmm.
dependent on the supply of gas by a very unfriendly country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want Europe to be dependent on an unfriendly country's currency. For instance, I don't know, the Chinese currency, the Russian currency, the
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or dependent on a friendly currency, but which is activated by a private corporate entity like, Facebook or like Google or anybody like that.
I'm user of Bitcoin too, so I had bought it when it started, and I hope that it also will work through the special system. And I know there are many protests in Europe against the electronic euro. What is the reason?
It's the beauty of Europe. It has different positions. If you ask in Northern Europe, for instance, in the Netherlands, they're quite happy to see the e-euro coming. If you ask a young German man, he'll say, yeah, fine. As I said, I don't want Meta, Google, or Amazon to suddenly come up with a currency that would take over the sovereignty of Europe. I don't want a foreign currency to become the currency of trading within Europe. So we have to be ready.
No, the problem is they don't want to be controlled. They don't want to.
Yeah, but you know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros. You cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the gray market. So you take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control. You're right. You're completely right. We are considering whether for very small amounts, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. but that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit cards that you can recharge in total anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the important takeaways about that was, obviously talking about limited control. But when you have programmable currency, it may start out limited, but the amount of programming will happen to increase and the amount of control will increase, because anytime you give just a little inch to any sort of government official, any government, any central bank, they take a foot. And when they say something is temporary, it's really just permanent. So as we continue on, here is a little bit of information about the digital euro. She did talk about it being launched in October, which is interesting because it says that it was going through a pilot phase. She also mentioned a threshold on €1,000 cash transaction. So you cannot spend more than €1,000 in cash without potentially being fined or put in jail. And then the other thing that she mentioned was that she did not want a foreign currency to come in and have any sort of effect on the sovereignty of Europe. And what she's referring to is not things like the US dollar, because obviously the dollar is the world reserve currency. She's referring to things like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a threat. It is absolutely a threat. As a matter of fact, we had Hillary Clinton put out one of the best promotional pieces for Bitcoin and decentralized cryptocurrencies. And for one of the first times in history, if not the only time in history, I can say that I completely agree with this woman.
And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency, because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger. So when we think about this new environment in which we find ourselves that we've been discussing for the last some minutes, we can't just think about nation states.
Oh, what's she saying? She's saying run to BTC, because Bitcoin is coming to destabilize nations, to undermine the role of the US dollar as the world reserve currency. Hell yes. So to continue on, and I will come back to the live chat here in just a few minutes, but to continue on right now, I got an article from the Bank of International Settlements. This is one of the largest central bank of central banks in coordination with the IMF. They have Project Icebreaker, which concludes an experiment for a new architecture for cross-border retail CBDCs. Now, there are two different types of central bank digital currencies. Two. You have wholesale and retail. Wholesale would be bank to bank. Retail would be for the slaves. And this is a cross-border test to see how these things work. And it was being done with in conjunction with the central banks of Israel, Norway, and Sweden. They've concluded Project Icebreaker, which studied the potential benefits and challenges of using retail CBDCs and international payments. A collaboration between the Bank of International Settlements Innovation Hub Nordic Center, Bank of Israel, Norges Bank, and Sivarius Riksbank, and the project tested the technical feasibility of conducting cross-border and cross-currency transactions between different experimental retail CBDC systems. You can read this in its entirety, and I encourage you to do so. Another thing that I want to highlight, which we're going to be talking more on the show in future episodes, is BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America, and there's South Africa, excuse me. I will repeat that. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. With more countries applying and wanting to be a part of this BRICS plus banking system, where they are creating a reserve currency to go against the dominancy of the US dollar, and it will be backed, they say, by gold. Our money, the United States dollar, is not backed by anything. It's fiat. As of 1971, officially, Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard in the United States, and none of the money in the world is backed by gold. And BRICS nation, the BRICS nations are talking about issuing a gold-backed world reserve currency that would threaten the dominancy of the US dollar as the world reserve currency, offering an alternative. We'll be talking a whole lot more about that on future episodes. Now, I'm about to get into something that people have been covering, but they haven't been covering it correctly. And I've unfortunately noticed that there's been no correction made on this. So I just need to cover this very briefly. Again, everything that I'm talking about is going to be linked down below in the video description. And let me go ahead and see what we have going on in the comments. Ronnie, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the compliment on the t-shirt. It's moneymetals.com/rice. You got to put rice on there if you don't mind, Ronnie. But it is moneymetals.com/rice to get entered in to win 10 ounces of silver. Definitely about enslaving Tara Spence. And I talked about that on previous episodes, and I covered a lot on that must-watch crypto playlist that I was talking about earlier that I encourage people to make sure they're taking the time to check out. If you value this content, if you resonate with liberty, please consider donating to Rice TVX. If you cannot donate, then like, share, and subscribe this video. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words, and I definitely appreciate those that can support me above and beyond. It's good seeing you, Web3 me. A1 in the house. Yesterday was your day, the pothead. It was my day too. It was our day. Thanks for promoting. Definitely thanks for promoting my Patreon channel. I had to read what was said there. Central bank digital currencies are government's attempt to protect its privileged position and exert more control over people's money and people's behavior. That is so well said, my friend. So well said. You said it. I appreciate you saying it. 100%. I'll definitely get that fixed if that's the case, if it doesn't include the /rice. Thank you, Ronnie. So just for people that want to see what I'm talking about on screen, I'll throw this up for a minute. You can see the moneymetals.com/rice link there. You can make any purchase. There's no minimum purchase to get entered to win these. One of these, be one of the 3 winners of 10 ounces of silver. moneymetals.com/rice. Again, that's moneymetals.com/rice. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about right now is some news that's been covered by lots of different financial channels and cryptocurrency channels. They didn't cover this very well. They didn't dot their I's, cross their T's, and that's one of the things that I like to do when I do my research. So, and this is also something that, you can blame entities like Yahoo Finance for as well, because this article came out on February 23rd from Yahoo Finance. IMF lays out crypto action plan, recommends against legal tender status. Now, in this article, there's actually just, I had to correct what I just said because Yahoo Finance wasn't at fault for what they said in this article. This isn't the misleading article. I apologize. This one just literally talks about the IMF has laid out a 9-point action plan for how countries should treat crypto assets, with point number 1, a plea not to give cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin legal tender status. The global leader of the last resort said its executive board had discussed the papers of elements and effective policies of crypto assets that provided guidance to IMF member countries on key elements of an appropriate policy response to crypto assets. They also mentioned the IMF had hit out at El Salvador in 2021. It had a hit out with El Salvador. I'm not sure if that's even written correctly, but the IMF, El Salvador, late 2021, when the Central American country became the first to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, a move that has since been copied by Central African Republic. Other advice on the Thursday's list, which comes as G20 decision makers meet in India, including guarding against excessive capital flows, adopting unambiguous tax rules and laws around the crypto assets, and developing and enforcing oversight requirements for all crypto market actors. I encourage you to read this in entirety, but the next article that I want to be sharing talks about the IMF, and that was the wrong order that I wanted to share those. So the DCMA is introducing Crypto 2.0. It's an AI-powered cryptocurrency. It's called UMU. Some of you people may have heard of it. There's been a lot of different channels that have been covering this. And this is what they're saying. The Digital Currency Monetary Authority, DCMA, at the International Monetary Fund 2023 spring meetings announced the launch of an international central bank digital currency, UMU. This move is aimed at strengthening the monetary sovereignty of central banks therein, in line with the recommendations of the IMF. The Universal Monetary Unit, also known as Unicoin, is a cryptocurrency powered by artificial intelligence, featuring a staked proof of trust, which is called SPOT consensus mechanism, and a multi-dimensional distributed ledger technology being an MDLT. UMU adopts a central bank monetary policy framework to ensure continuous purchasing demand, minimal price volatility, and annual asset pricing targets. It also, this implies that banks can attach SWIFT codes and bank accounts to the UMU digital currency wallet, functions as a legal money commodity and like a CBDC to implement banking regulations and ensure the financial integrity of the international banking system is protected. Transactions can also be initiated in a SWIFT-like cross-border payments manner using the digital currency real-time and best rates not compromised. So you can read this in its entirety. This is just a press release basically from DCMA. And a lot of the verbiage that was coming out was making it sound like because they launched at the same time as this meeting with the IMF, they made a lot of people were insinuating that the IMF had involvement with the DCMA and Unicoin, this Crypto 2.0 protocol, but people haven't, one, corrected the record to come out and say that it's been reported that IMF is denying involvement in the purported CBDC. So this came out April 18th, 2023, and it reads, the IMF said in a statement to Crypto Slate that it is not involved with the purported CBDC called Unicoin. IMF denies involvement in Unicoin. On April 10th, DCMA announced the central bank digital currency called the Universal Monetary Unit, UMU, or Unicoin. The IMF has denied all connections to that project, stating the IMF has no involvement in the DCA or Unicoin. The DCA's original press release acknowledges that the IMF has not officially endorsed Universal Monetary Unit. Rather, it says the IMF has merely reviewed the project's white paper and has not objected to certain project details. Confusion around the IMF ties to Unicoin seems to be due to the fact that the DCA announced the launch of Unicoin during the IMF's spring meetings. So Unicoin is not endorsed by the IMF, or the IMF is denying any sort of endorsement at this time. But a lot of people have been reporting on this as the IMF approved central bank digital currency, which is not true. Now, if you go to DCMA's website, dcma.io, you will find information on the Crypto 2.0. You will find information on the central bank digital currency, the Unicoin network, and the Universal Monetary Unit. Crypto 2.0, talking about a global decentralized digital finance services network for central banks and financial institutions. And then we move on to the central bank digital currency one, and it's talking about reimagine for banking. Just a bunch of BS information that you kind of see in most central bank digital currency white paper and rhetoric. The Unicoin network explains more about the Unicoin network, which is very limited information. And then we have the Universal Monetary Unit. It's the first cryptocurrency adopting monetary policies engineered to stimulate continuous demand with minimal price volatility. most suitable for store and exchange of value and as a central bank cash reserve currency. The first cryptocurrency with monetary policy. And you're more than welcome to review this yourself. But this is not endorsed or promoted by the IMF. The IMF has come out and said that they're not involved. They're not endorsing it. They're not supporting it. And then the other thing is when I've seen people promoting this Unicoin thing, they're using the, like you can see right here is the coin. This is like what they have as their artwork for the coin. Obviously, there's no physical coin, but this is what the artwork is. And the artwork that people have been using on their thumbnails and such aren't even the correct Unicoin because there's a completely different Unicoin. It's a next generation cryptocurrency that's designed to be stable and profitable. It's somehow it's like a diversified portfolio management. It's an interesting project. It's not something I'm promoting, but you can see the unicorn. This is the thing that most people, and they've been making ties to biblical references to the unicorn and Unicoin when this Unicoin has nothing to do with this Unicoin or this Unicoin. But people are still, for whatever reason, content creators are using this one, which is some sort of dividend paying cryptocurrency. Again, I'm not promoting this project in any way. I'm just letting you know this right here. It says dividend paying digital coin backed by a diversified equity portfolio. And it's got the unicorn on the coin with Unicoin. Again, this is the wrong coin. So I'm just letting you know that not everybody that you're watching on YouTube does good research or even research at all. They're just looking at articles, regurgitating a bunch of BS, unfortunately. So before we move on to the national news, I want to see what we got going on in the live chat. You will find information on the screen as I'm doing this about my fundraiser. I have 10 spots left. If you want to get private access, excuse me, bear with me a moment. Here we go. If you want to get lifetime access to my website, it's being built. I'm shooting for it to be done here in the next few weeks. I'm doing a fundraiser. There are 10 spots left out of 50 to get lifetime access, plus a special gift, and that's all for $100. The gift is going to be a swag bag full of Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain swag. It will include some stickers, a pen. I've got some promotional wooden nickels, and I've got these really cool patches. I may get one more item. These patches are really cool. They're Velcro backed, so you can stick them to things that have Velcro, backpacks, bulletproof vests. There are a lot of different things that people might have. There are hats that have Velcro on the front. So this is the Rice TVX. It's about a little less than a 2x2, and the blue glows in the dark, and it glows really well. Once you charge it up with some light, it glows great. And then there's the Rice Against the Grain patch. So here's both of them together. This is a 2x2. This is just a little bit smaller, but it's wide. A little bit wider than the other ones. So these will be included with the swag bag that I'm putting together. That very limited run. There's only 100 of these each, and everything except for the wooden nickels is a very limited run, very limited edition. You'll get that special swag bag plus lifetime access. There's 10 spots left, $100. I got my PayPal, Cash App, and crypto information in the video description, and you would email Rice Media Group at protonmail.com and put lifetime in that subject line. And also make sure you're subscribed to my other channel, Rice Against the Grain, and tune in for tomorrow's live stream at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, all about the legal fiction. You can't handle my truth that I'm going to be sharing it all tomorrow. Thank you again for taking the time to tune in for today's video. And if you haven't already, take an opportunity to smash that like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Going to finish up going through the comments, and then we're going to finish the national side of the news. Be borrowed. Yes, no one can buy or sell with the CBDC. That's why I'm encouraging people to take advantage of my partnerships with ITM Trading. With that free gold and silver strategy call, with my partnership with Money Metals Exchange, where you can be entered to win 10 ounces of silver every month, and my partnership with My Patriot Supply. I'll go ahead real quick and pull up a little bit of information on that, and then we'll get into the national news. I'm going to be doing a video possibly over the weekend or early next week talking about this food issue that we're going to be experiencing in the United States and around the world. There's been a lot of talk on it on mainstream news already. So you guys can take advantage of my partnership with My Patriot Supply. You go to prepwithrice.com. I'll get some information up on the screen so you guys can see this very well. So you got something scrolling at the very bottom and something right here, but you would visit prepwithrice.com if you want to be able to get these discounts and support my channel at the same time. Prepwithrice.com. Right now, what they're offering as this monthly special, and it changes every month, but this month, offering up a 3-month emergency food kit. It's over 2,000 calories per day, 25 years shelf life. You can read all the great details. It ships fast, ships free, and it's also in a very discreet way of shipping. This 3-month emergency food supply will also include a bonus free Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system that's worth almost $300 that you're going to get for free. The entire value of all of this, the 3-month food supply and the Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system, is $797. To get that special deal, go to prepwithrice.com. And there's also a 2-week emergency food kit going for $127 as well. All right, so let me go ahead real quick, get this part off screen. Those are ways that you can support the channel. Look out for yourself. My partnership with My Patriot Supply, with ITM Trading, and with Money Metals Exchange. All right, so to finish up the comment section and go into the rest of today's video. Camin 830, Cash Gestapo. A1 is saying, what happens when the power goes out, even for a day or a week, to do the natural disasters? How do CBDCs help at that point? Well, see, that may be how they usher in a central bank digital currency, because, and I'll get into that, because there's been a Fed, I think it's a Fed chair or a Fed governor, but I'll get into this article. But she basically talks about maybe the United States has no need for a retail central bank digital currency, which would be one for the people, which would mean that they have other plans, whether it is utilizing stable coins such as USDC and or USDT or something completely different. Definitely a digital monopoly. And Sean from New World says another reason governments want central bank digital currencies is that central banks can program that's a big word. Let me try this again here. Programmatically require tax payments for every CBDC transaction, snagging tax revenue they couldn't collect before on cash transactions. True. And they could also limit what you can and cannot buy. So once we see these central bank digital currencies launched, you may not be allowed to buy precious metals, gold and silver with these central bank digital currencies. So we'll see. I've already shown these chats. Thank you, the Bro Conda guy. I appreciate the nice words. Crypto Red Bot. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Hopefully you're not actually a bot. Unicoin. I know you're catching it. Miss V says Unicoin is a revamped SDR. This is IMF's debt SDR structure. The SDR is special drawing rights. It came out in 1969. It's the first official digital currency. And it's like what we would consider with the wholesale central bank digital currencies, which are bank-to-bank CBDCs, and SDRs are bank-to-bank. Thanks for sharing, Miss V. Unicoin is nothing related to unicorns, but true Unicoin is not really for our use. IMF SDR infrastructure debt is that goal. It is IMF denied, as it basically covers how they're going to do resource. Appreciate you sharing. Cultivate, elevate, learn about electroculture and grow more food with no pesticides and lower fertilizer usage. Love it. To debt funding is what Unicoin is designed for. Appreciate you sharing, Ms. V. Definitely get in touch with me. I would like to chat again, even if it is private. I would definitely like to chat. Some of the longtime listeners of Rice TVX may recognize Miss V. And we're going to go ahead and finish up with what we have to share on today's video. I'm going to share another video clip real quick. This is another 3-minute clip. This is Tulsi Gabbard. She's had a lot of issues in the political spectrum, and she's been speaking out against central bank digital currencies as well. I've shared in past videos about South Dakota's Governor Noem, who vetoed the UCC bill on a state level to redefine money, to not include Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but to include a central bank digital currency. We also had Ron DeSantis speak out against central bank digital currencies. I'm going to be sharing an article from Robert Kennedy Jr., who apparently is running as a Democrat for president, I believe. His thoughts and statements in regards to Bitcoin and central bank digital currencies. But right now, right meow, this was on Tucker Carlson interviewing Tulsi Gabbard, all about Slavecoin.
If the government were ever to digitize currency, your freedoms would evaporate. They could zero out your bank account and make you impoverished for being disobedient. You would be a serf at best. And with that in mind, you should know that central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are about to become the norm in Europe. The president of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, has just said that Europeans will not be able to use more than $1,000 in cash anymore.
Now we have in Europe this threshold. Above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the gray market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail.
So you go to jail for spending your own money if they don't control it. That's coming here. Tulsi Gabbard has spoken out against it. She, of course, ran for president, served in the House from Hawaii, and joins us now. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker.
This is so dystopian, you'd hate to think it could ever come here. You think it might?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is just the latest effort by those in power in our country who are intent on undermining and taking away our own freedoms and liberties. This central bank digital currency is about government-sanctioned surveillance and control. It's about them being able to keep track of every single thing that we purchase, whether it's a stick of gum or an automobile or anything in between. And so if they have all this information and data, which they will in this system, then where does that lead? It gives them the power to decide, okay, well, hey, we don't want to allow you to purchase certain things, or we may deem it necessary to freeze your overall account. This power and what they can do with it, it's not something we have to imagine. We've already seen how Democrats in Congress, Elizabeth Warren and others, are pressuring credit card companies to code and keep track of any purchase that's made at a store that sells firearms. Why? So that these private companies can then say, hey, this person is purchasing, I don't know what they deem is kind of the threshold, but they will then report that as suspicious activity to law enforcement, and then expect law enforcement to take action and go after the purchases, legal purchases that a private person made. So this all comes back to how you open this. Once we give up our economic autonomy, we no longer have freedom. Once we allow someone else to control our wallet, they then control our freedom.
Do you think people understand what this means? It'll be sold, as always, as an effort to push back against terrorism or international financiers or crime or whatever, but do people understand on a gut level what could be coming?
I don't think they do, and it's understandable, because if you listen to what the government is telling us, like with all of these other things, whether it's the Patriot Act or the Restrict Act, they're doing the very same thing with this, saying, hey, this is for your own good. This is for your convenience, to make it easier for you to conduct transactions, when in fact they are giving themselves all of the power, taking it away from us, undermining our God-given rights and freedoms in the Constitution, because they want to be able to control us. They want to be able to control we the people.
So nicely put. Tulsi Gabbard joining us tonight. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Tucker.
All right, again, if you're enjoying today's video, take an opportunity to smash that like button, give this video a thumbs up, because again, I'm told it's supposed to help with the YouTube algorithm flow. The view counts have been down. Make sure you're checking out the videos that I have released this week. Definitely don't miss that interview I did Monday live with Tone Vase this past Monday. If you missed it, Go check it out. We're going to go ahead and continue with what we have to say with the rest of the national news on a central bank digital currency level. Then I'll be coming back to the live chat and we'll be wrapping up today's video. Reminding you that I will be going live tomorrow on Rice Against the Grain at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to tune in for that. And if you missed the episode I did on Wednesday about Gary Gensler, the circus act that took place at the hearing, be sure to check out this video. And here's the thumbnail for the Tone Vase interview that I did this past Monday. All right, so to continue on, moving on to the national news. First thing that I want to share here is this article that comes from, I'm going to go full screen on this. This is coming from Bitcoin.com. It was reported on April 11th, 2023, U.S. presidential candidate RFK Jr., that is Robert Kennedy Jr. His dad was Bobby Kennedy. Says Bitcoin provides an escape route from financial turmoil. And what does my shirt say? It says run to BTC. Sounds like Mr. RFK Jr. is in agreement. Great minds think alike. So as we scroll down, as reported on that Monday, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. once again cautioned the American public to be wary of the central bank digital currencies, and he insisted that the Biden administration had launched a steady barrage of hostile broadsides against cryptocurrencies. Kennedy, who recently filed to run for president of the United States in the 2024 election as a Democrat, also stressed that Bitcoin gives the public an escape route when the bubble bursts. The White House is colluding with banksters. RFK Jr. discussed the FedNow service on Monday after the U.S. Federal Reserve published an advisory notice insisting that the service was not a digital currency, a CBDC, or a cash replacement. Kennedy stated that the claim would be more believable if people were not aware of Biden's administration's steady barrage of hostile broadsides against cryptocurrencies. Very interesting. The recent crackdown on crypto blocks exit ramps, removes alternative rails, and strengthens government control over both financial and political systems, explained Kennedy. He definitely knows what he's talking about. Furthermore, he discussed the massive monetary expansion that took place in America for well over a decade between 2008 and 2022. The Fed partnered with a handful of big banks to print $10 trillion, 10 centuries of wealth in 15 years. A bonanza for the banksters. Again, I couldn't agree more. Kennedy also asserted that Bitcoin, the peer-to-peer electronic cash system, is giving people the means of protection from the financial turmoil that will lead to an inevitable crash. That's something, again, I can say that I agree with. CNN poll suggests majority of Democrat voters would like to see an alternative nominee. So Kennedy filed for a candidacy on April 5th. He would be the fourth member of his family to run for the U.S. presidency. Obviously, he is the nephew of JFK Jr. You can read this article in its entirety. The next thing I was going to share from Cointelegraph, and this came out on April 18th, 2023. So that was just 3 days ago. And this is talking about the wholesale CBDC. When I was talking about one of the Fed individuals, so it's a board governor, Michelle. Let me go back to the screen here. Michelle Bowman. So again, wholesale CBDCs are for bank-to-bank, retail, or for the people, for commerce. And this reads, U.S. wholesale CBDC has promise, the Fed governor says, but retail, difficult to imagine. And it's because of the pushback. Most Americans do not want a central bank digital currency. They don't want to be controlled by the government. They don't want to give the government that much more control because people are losing faith in the monetary system and the government. Federal Reserve Board Governor Michelle Bowman discussed the potential United States central bank digital currency in a speech at Georgetown University. And this is on April 18th, and it talks about offering a perspective on central bank digital currencies, that the Fed plays an important role in the conversation about CBDCs. Her examination of the problems a CBDC might solve and the design and policy issues it entails showed little enthusiasm. Bowman expressed doubt about a need for a central bank digital currency to improve the payment systems or its ability to enhance financial inclusion in the United States. A CBDC would have to beat the performance of the new FedNow system to earn a place on the market, and the 4.5% of Americans who do not have bank accounts are unlikely to want to use a CBDC. Probably factually true. If you want to learn more about the FedNow, I did do a video about FedNow that you can find in the must-watch crypto playlist, and I definitely encourage you to check that out. And if you want to look at the entirety of the speech entitled Considerations for a Central Bank Digital Currency, Governor Michelle W. Bowman, this was April 18th at Georgetown University. You're more than welcome to read this. I just want to let you know that I made it available for you to check out. You can learn from her perspective, what problem could a CBDC solve? And she lists a lot of information, design features and policy considerations, the imperative of continuing research, and concluding thoughts, the potential future of a CBDC in the United States. So you're more than welcome to do a deeper dive and check that out yourself. Another thing that I want to share on the national news level was, and people may have heard this news. Again, I'm almost done with these articles, and I will be coming back to the live chat, and then we'll be wrapping up today's video. I do appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. I greatly appreciate you being here with me. So this is reported from Yahoo Finance on April 7th, 2023, and it's titled, Is the Gold Standard Coming Back in Texas? Legislators propose gold-backed digital currency. This is pretty powerful. The gold standard as it existed under the Bretton Woods system until 1971, as I mentioned, is likely never coming back. There are a myriad of reasons for this, but the most important lies with the U.S. government's ability to control the economy. Under the gold standard, the government no longer has the tools it uses to support the economy. Now, again, the BRICS nations are talking about launching a gold-backed world reserve currency. To continue on with this article, this mostly includes the government's control over the U.S. dollar. Under the gold standard, those with the most gold naturally control the dollar. While a large portion of gold is mined in the United States, a majority is produced by foreign powers. Moving back to the gold standard would effectively entail surrendering the dollar to the control of those with the most stockpiles of metal. And we know that Russia and China have been stockpiling in addition to all the other BRICS nation banks. So I'm definitely encourage you to read this article if you want to learn more about this legislation that's being introduced in Texas in regards to a gold-backed currency. And this is something that I've shared in previous videos. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but it coincides with what I was talking about with Project Icebreaker earlier with the Bank of International Settlements. And that is the article right here. With Project Icebreaker being an experiment for new architecture for cross-border retail CBDCs. This comes from AtlanticCouncil.org, the same site that I shared earlier with the Central Bank Digital Currency Tracker that you could check out. And this is talking about the launch of the digital dollar. It's a pilot program that was going on with the New York Fed and I think 12 different financial institutions. And it's reported here, while the world was busy watching the collapse of FTX, the U.S. Federal Reserve System made an important move. Speaking at a Singapore FinTech Festival on November 4th, a senior official from the New York Fed surprised many with the audience by announcing that over the past several months, the New York Fed has been developing a wholesale CBDC designed to speed up transfers between banks around the world. Again, wholesale is for bank to bank. This project has been dubbed Project Cedar. The next link I want to share comes from NewYorkFed.org about the Fed. This is about Project Cedar. This is all about Phase 1. You can download the Phase 1 report here. I've talked about this on previous videos. I haven't mentioned this. This is new. Project Cedar Phase 2 in conjunction with something called Project UBIN, Project UBIN, UBIN. It's a Singapore-based thing. I'm not exactly sure exactly what it is. There's some additional links down here. The main motivation goals of the CBDC. Project Cedar Phase 2 with UBIN will enhance designs for atomic settlement of cross-border, cross-currency transactions, leveraging WCBDCs, that is wholesale CBDC, as a settlement asset. Again, there are retail and wholesale CBDCs. So I hope that I've shared some valuable information with you today, stuff that has kind of shown you a different perspective and show you how little time that we have left before they fully launch a central bank digital currency. And I've already said before, there's nothing that we can do to avoid the central bank digital currency from coming into existence. But what we can do is make sure that we're communicating with our politicians on state and federal levels that are supposed to be our constituents representing our vote on a state and federal level. You need to communicate with them how you would like for them to vote, share information, educational resources, do this with your local communities. Because if you don't get involved and make your voice heard and speak out against the things that would definitely be not good for the people. If the legislation goes through unchallenged, then they're going to put through legislation that's going to allow for a programmable currency that's going to take away your privacy, that's going to be attached to a social credit, that's going to be attached to a carbon credit, and along with your digital ID, is going to put you literally in a digital prison. You're completely in a digital prison, and there's nothing that you can do once all those things come into factor. So if you don't speak out, if you don't communicate with your politicians, then ultimately you're consenting. And this is where I've talked about in previous videos and previous speeches and presentations that we are equally the problem and the solution. And when I mean that we, me and you, all of us, me included, are the problem, it's because those that don't speak out against these things are basically consenting. And everything happens because of the consent of the governed. So again, we are the problem and the solution. And I encourage myself and everyone watching this to be more of the solution and less of the problem. And as we continue on, I want to go ahead and see what everybody has to say on today's live chat. So, CB, I seen you. I'll be back at the bottom of the chat in a minute. Good seeing you in your house, my friend. We definitely need to chat. Man, there's all kinds of people in the house. Bodhisattva is in the house. Mr. Stan. I don't know if you noticed that Miss V was joining us here as well. Stanley. Flat Smack is in the house. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Everyone who keeps touting a democracy is an E. Is an E? What is an E? We'll see if there's more information down here. Oh, here we go. Everyone touting a democracy is ushering in a control system through their ignorance of what a democracy is by actually definition is an abolishment of private rights for a mobocracy. My man Stan has gone deep into the rabbit holes. He's got a lot of great information and he's been learning. I'm going to try to get him to come on Rice Against the Grain for a public interview, share what he's been up to with his journeys and where he's headed. I got book 1 today, Stan. Just got it in the mail about an hour ago. I'll be talking about it on tomorrow's video on Rice Against the Grain when I go live at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time and talk about my truth, the legal fiction. 1:00 p.m. Eastern time live tomorrow on Rice Against the Grain. If you're into my legal fiction law studies, you do not want to miss this one. It's the pinnacle. To finish up with what's going on with the live chat, and then we're going to wrap up today's video. Again, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Tara Spence says the MJ will get you through times of no money better than money. It will get you through these times of interesting. I always have my supply right beside me. Right here. And it's always 420 every day, and it's always 420 somewhere. And I think on the East Coast, we have 21 minutes for that to be taking place. I've been wondering when this government show was going to come to an end 1.5 years ago. Thanks for sharing a link for that video, Ronnie. I greatly appreciate. Cameron 830 in the UK, the system seems to crash every 7 to 10 years. Yeah, well, every 7 years is a Shemitah too. Well, it's not quite every 7 years. I think it is every 7 years is a Shemitah year if I understand the Hebrew calendar correctly. Quick Mithril, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you becoming one of my patrons. Tara Spence, labor is worth more than gold. Skilled labor is the ultimate commodity, unfortunately. The ends, well, I shouldn't even say the ends. The Nazis back their currency with labor. Our creativity and imagination is better than gold. Interesting. Quick Mithril, they already have FedNow set up in the US. Well, it's coming. It's not completely launched. The UMU by IMF, which is a global CBDC system for all the CBDC to connect with. Again, if you maybe you tuned in late, Quick Mithril, but watch the beginning of the video. I dispel the information regarding this Unicoin stuff. I'll share just a quick article. Where is it at? Here we go. The IMF denies involvement in purported central bank digital currency called Unicoin. You're more than welcome to check out the links in the video description or rewind back to the beginning of the live stream. QM, I would definitely encourage it. CB, my brother from another mother. It's always a pleasure seeing you. Another live stream, another video you guys might have missed from this week was my video with Crypto Blood. We did a live stream on both of our channels this past Sunday it was episode 98 of Off the Chain. We have episode 100 coming up soon. It's good to see you in the house, CB. And if you guys aren't already subscribed to his channel, take an opportunity as well after this live stream to check out his channel and make sure you're subscribed. He puts out great content. One of my favorite content creators, definitely my brother from another mother, and someone who I gel well with. Me and him, we put out some good content together, in my opinion. Terrible Spence. Yeah, okay. I got to watch what I'm saying here and sharing a little bit on the screen, but I appreciate everybody's comments. And I don't have a problem with people talking freely in the live chat. I don't think that's going to cause any sort of issues with the algorithm, but who knows? I'm already I did enough. Working and lurking. I love it. I'm glad you noticed that, Stan. FedNow is the hackable how they will create a crash. Interesting. When off-Fed payments freeze, blame Russia, right? Why the bank cracked down to protect you? Controlling chaos. Okay, well, Miss V, I love you. Dropping crumbs. Please message me. It's been a while since we talked. Every 7 years, then every 50 Jubilee, I believe. Okay, then every 7 years, then every 50. Yes, every 7 years is kind of a regular Jubilee. And then I think on the 7 times 7 with the 49 is like kind of a bigger, more expansive version of a Jubilee. I'm not quite sure. But thanks for sharing, David. I appreciate it. All right. 7 by 7 times 7 plus 1 for the 50. For the 50. Definitely go check out my man's channel. We definitely got something coming up, man. Me and you got to talk, my friend. And Ronnie has shared the link for Crypto Blood's channel, CBTV. Go hit it over there and subscribe, people. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to tune in. That's pretty much everything I was going to share on today's video. I hope you found it to be educational. I know it's a little long, but it was a lot of information to share. For those of you who might have missed it, before I do wrap up the live stream, I'm going to go ahead and take some pre-420s before 420, and I'm going to share this message earlier that I shared from Christine Lagarde talking to a fake Zelensky, but the conversation is 100% legit. Pay attention to everything she says, because these things could be coming to the United States in the introduction of legislation form, because she does talk about a ban on cash over a threshold or at a threshold of €1,000 that could result in being fined or jailed. Not wanting a foreign currency to interfere with the euro, the digital euro in any way. Talking about October, mentioning October. So I think October is going to be a very important time period that people need to pay attention to. And also talking about limited control that a central bank digital currency offers. But we all know that programmable is programmable. Programmable currency in a limited fashion can always be expanded to be a lot more than limited. You always got to start off with a little bit, but as things progress, you tighten it up a little bit more and more and more. Because right now they're ushering people out of cash in Europe, because they're, again, if you buy anything over €1,000 in cash, you can be fined or put in jail for doing so. And they're going to be introducing this digital euro that gives them limited control.
I have a question about
I'm also good.
Well,
I have a question
I'm-
about.
yeah.
I'm also a good user of electronic money. So my question: you're introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how can how can switching to an electronic currency help?
Well, two things. Number one, it will be decided in October. So
In
we are
October.
preparing the ground. We want to be ready. We want to be trained.
October.
It will not be decided until October 23.
Mhm.
The reason
Red
I'm
October, maybe.
personally convinced that we have to move ahead is a situation like the one we are in now. We are dependent on the supply of gas by a very unfriendly country.
Oh, she's talking about
I
Russia.
don't want Europe to be dependent on an unfriendly country's currency. For instance,
Like Russia.
I don't know, the Chinese currency, the Russian currency, the whatever. Or dependent on a friendly currency, but which is activated by a private corporate entity like Facebook or like Google or anybody like that.
I'm user of Bitcoin too, so
I'm
I had
user
bought
of
it when
Bitcoin,
it started, and I hope that it also will work through the special system.
Yeah.
And I know there are many protests in Europe against the electronic euro. What is the reason?
It's the beauty of Europe. It has different positions. If you ask in Northern Europe, for
Because
instance,
not too many
in the
people want
Netherlands,
to willingly
they're
sign up to
quite
be a
happy to see
slave.
the e-euro coming. If you ask a young German man, he'll say, yeah, fine. As I said,
Yeah.
I don't want Meta, Google, or Amazon to suddenly come up with a currency that would take over the sovereignty of Europe. I don't want a foreign currency to become the currency of trading within Europe. So we have to be ready.
No, the problem is they don't want to be controlled. They don't want to.
Yeah, but you know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold. Above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do,
Cannot pay
you're on the
cash.
gray market. So you take your risk. You get
Take your risk.
caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But
If you get caught, fined, or
the
jail.
digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control.
Limited.
You're right. You're completely
It
right.
will be. It
We
will
are
be. You're
considering
completely right.
whether for very small amounts, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. But that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit
there's
cards
always
that you
a
can
reason.
recharge in total anonymity.
So you can't have total anonymity. They don't want that. They want to have full control, and they will start off with saying limited control, or they'll just tell people it's limited control when it's just full on control. Again, when you combine things like central bank digital currencies, things like a digital version of the fiat money, like a digital dollar, and you combine that with a digital ID, which is being introduced. Other nations around the world have been talking about this. It's going to be implemented. They're pushing it through. There's all sorts of different testing going on with it. There's all sorts of different financial institutions and entities involved with creations of digital ID. So central bank digital currencies, digital fiat, digital ID, in conjunction with the social credit and carbon credit, is going to be your digital prison. And if that's the future that you want, then you need to read George Orwell's 1984 and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and get comfortable with that future. Because that's what's going to happen if you don't speak up, speak out, and stop consenting and start using counter economics, start being a part of parallel markets and parallel societies, breakaway communities. These are things that I talk about with the agorism factor in videos and presentations that I've done. So make sure you're checking out content you might have missed on both Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain. And real quick, before we wrap up, I'm going to see what everybody has to say in a live chat, and then we're going to wrap up today's video. And I will say, I like doing the live streams where I'm standing up, where I can move around. This is nice. I just got to make sure that I'm being conscientious of the microphone, of course. And I may change up, possibly using a different microphone, like a lapel mic potentially. But I like to be able to move around. I've been sitting down for years doing videos, and this feels good. This feels good. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe here at Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain. Gary Guzzler, appreciate you tuning in, my friends. Always good to see you. Cameron 830 says the EU is a dictatorship, and it's definitely turning into that. I'd just let the fines build up until they exceeded 1,000. Tell them, sorry, I can't pay. I don't think it's going to work that way, my friend. I definitely see a Bud Light drinker, and that's not me. That's definitely not me. I'm an IPA kind of gent. Terrible Spence, October surprise, Red October. So I mean, we're going to have an interesting next few months. So Dave is talking about the entire 50th year is a year of Jubilee. 7 times 7 equals 49, plus 1 equals 50, resets, then 7 times 7 again, plus 1 equals Jubilee. Yom Kippur falls on the lines dividing the 7th Shemitah and the 50-year Jubilee. So the Jubilee year only happens once every 50 years for that year after the 49, the 7 Shemitahs times 7 being 49 plus the full year of Jubilee. That's what I'm assuming you're saying. I know it's not always the easiest way to communicate like this. I will get in touch with you soon to figure out something about hanging out and a meetup. More restrictions on cash, so the CBDC seems better in comparison. Real slick, guys. Yeah, I mean, they definitely know what they're doing. Jubilee is reset, audit, and balance the books. Order and balance the books. Okay. I'm definitely standing up, and it's fun, man. You should try it. You should try it. The only thing is, like, my desk wants to move and stuff, so I got to get that fixed. But I am going to be rearranging my studio this weekend, doing some spring cleaning, and trying to finalize on this digital camera I'm going to be using. Appreciate you tuning in, Ronnie, and thanks for helping out with the chat and sharing links. I greatly appreciate it. 2017 and 18 was the Jubilee of Jerusalem. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think you were talking about me, but I appreciate you clarifying, Daddy Go. Thank you. That's the way it appears, but there are many calendars out there. Yeah, and it's not a perfect science, and we've been lied to about a lot of our history. So thank you for tuning in for today's video. What I will do real quick, a few things I want to share, and then we're going to wrap up. But here is Rice TVX. Here's some videos you might have missed. These are the live ones. This week has been live content. It's a little bit easier for me to do the live content. And this is some of the content you might have missed that I put out on videos. We have Rice Against the Grain. I'm going to be going live tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. You can't handle my truth about the legal fiction. My presentations from Truth Tour 3, as well as the Truth-a-thon 3, and some interviews with Alphonse Fagiolo, as well as many more. And then over on my Rumble channel, if you're not following me there, I'd encourage you to make sure you follow me. Links are always in the video description, and it's also linked at ricetvx.com. You can check out day 1 and day 2 of Crypto Mindset Reset. And if you want to check out my Patreon channel, you can support me there. I will, once the website is complete, the private website, I will be giving a 60 to 90 day notice for ending Patreon. So I encourage you, if you want to join Patreon, you could do it on a monthly basis, unless you want to take advantage of my fundraiser for $100 to get that lifetime access and the Rice swag. But if you head over to patreon.com/RiceTVX, with some free videos up, my presentation from the Crypto Mindset Reset number 2, day 1, my presentation, plus the ending of the live stream. You can check that out. I did an interview with an Australian gentleman, a channel called The Game Experience, this is a good video, good interview. It's available publicly. My last appearance on Around the Blockchain. So there's several videos for free. My appearance on Blockchain Basement while I was visiting Hit Network and BitBoy Crypto. And then there's lots of private videos that are only available for patrons, but you'll see the ones that are available. I did go visit KL down in Florida, and I will be sharing information about that tomorrow on Rice Against the Grain. Make sure you sign up for my mailing list. You can find that over on ricetvx.com. Once you do so, close this out. You're going to see links for both of my YouTube channels, my Patreon, my Rumble, my Odyssey, my Twitter, my Truth Social, and more links as well. I'm going to be redesigning this website. I've got all kinds of things happening here in the future. I do appreciate everybody for taking the time to join me today. I'm glad that you enjoyed those KL interviews, David. David is one of the lifetime members, one of the 40 so far. And thank you for sharing that link, Ronnie, or these links, I should say. Thank you so much. And once again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in for today's video. As always, I encourage you to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in the matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.